Welcome to another episode of BookBites. I'm so excited that you could join us. Okay, so for this episode, I have my cousin Barry. He's here to touch base. Say hi, Barry.
Hey, how you doing?
All right. So this book that we're talking about in this episode is a little different. It's not exactly fiction, but it's a good one. So we are talking about Why Are All the Black Kids Sitting Together in the Cafeteria? This one is by Beverley Tatum. And this was a very interesting read. So we're going to discuss it. It's pretty thick, to say the least. But it had some wonderful points in here. And I think it's a great book for discussion. So, Barry, are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So we're going to drop the mic on this one. And we're going to go over like 3 basic things. So first question I have for you is the message. That's their first question for us. What message do you think overall this book really kind of discusses? What's its significance?
The message behind the book, from what I took from it, was more so about reaching a pinnacle to like your Black identity, or just any race that you are in, because it does touch on every bit of race in there.
Yes,
but more certainly, I can only relate to myself. So more so just when or how do you go about finding yourself through your own skin? And it came out a different, a bunch of different ways to go about that. A lot of information as far as statistics.
Yes.
As well that, you may not have thought of at one point, and then it's like, oh, well, that do make sense a little bit. It's like one of those type of things.
Yes. I actually agree. It talked a lot about how people become, they identify themselves in race, and how it really, really kind of broke down everything about identity. All right. So the next question I have to ask is, you picked this book, which I think it was a great read. It had been on my to-read list for quite some time, so I was very excited to read it. So the next question is, what's the impact? Like your first read, what was the impact on you and your life, especially being a Black man in 2021?
I would say more so it was more like a teaching moment.
Okay.
Being I don't have any children or anything of the sort. Now, it did touch on that as well. And that was a big thing that I do want to incorporate, when I do step into that role of, having a child of my own, and how to appropriately, get them to be more comfortable with themselves.
Yes. Yes.
So it did have a few messages in there about certain things, about just showing them more than just telling them. So as innocent little kids, they may ask, certain questions.
Yes. And how do you approach that? How do you talk about race?
for one main question that it asking, there was a scenario of, a Caucasian child asking their parents, like, hey, why is that child Black? Like, why are they different?
Yeah.
And it's tough because, like, well, how do I explain this to a child? Like, how do I get them to understand it more? And that was, that's certain things where I'm like, well, I don't know how to say that right now. Like, so let me read it and see what's going on. Because when I picked the book up, I was just in Barnes and Nobles. I had seen it, had ordered it on Amazon, just a little cheaper.
Okay.
But seeing it on that because I wanted to take a break from the historical side. I wanted to do something a bit more modern, a bit more current. So that way I can see what's going on as of today.
Yes. Yes. And the author did cover this. She did a wonderful job. And this actually was written a while ago. And this is the 20th anniversary edition. So she went back and did like a whole edition talking about Trump. And things really hadn't changed too much. I actually love all those bits and pieces about the children and really how to describe, because eventually they do see difference, especially, when you're talking about mixed race children. It's like, wait, these two things don't match. And there's an age, and I know you don't have kids yet, but that age between 6 and I feel like 9, they just say whatever comes to their mind. They're like so honest and just blunt with their observations. And it can be very, very awkward. And I know all the parents out there have been asked the question like, where did you even come up with this? I don't even know how to answer. But if you avoid that question, you're actually kind of complicating things. Yeah. So this book kind of walks you through like, how do you have these discussions when it comes to race? And then when they get older, like, doing some things to really kind of be active in how we break down stereotypes and really understand, racial identity and inclusion in general. because when you ignore those things on a younger level, I definitely believe it just fuels the fire to misconceptions. That left unchecked, it goes ridiculously crazy. And what I love about race and having conversations about race is it's not one thing. It's not two things. It's not three things. Race, when you talk about people inside of a race, are so dynamic. There's so many different things.
But the best part about Obama is that he's a black nerd. I love that jump. Because I'm a black nerd, and that was illegal until like 2003. It's awesome. It's so awesome. It's like there's black nerds everywhere, you know, like it's awesome. It's just like they're everywhere now. It's so great, and I love it. But it was just hard for us growing up. Like, you know, I remember I was like the only black kid in my school for a while. Like I remember I went to a white school, and white kids were excited. They were super excited. They were like, "Oh, we got a black kid. This is awesome. We got a black kid." They were like, "Oh, hey, Donald, what kind of rap music you into? What kind of sneakers you like?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't really like rap music. I really enjoy the soulful stylings of the Cranberries. We can talk about that." They were like, "Nah, man, you like sneakers and you like rap music."
I actually want to talk to you about my favorite part in this. So one of my favorite parts is a little bit about kids, and it's a little bit about that identity. There's a part in here that says, racial awareness characteristic of this adolescent stage can be triggered by the cumulative effect of many small incidents, microaggressions, that the young person begins to experience. So it's talking about that critical age when you first discover, you know, hey, I'm this race. And so I'll speak specifically to, of course, being black and those microaggressions. And the first time I read this, the first thing I thought of is, I don't know if you ever watched the show, Everybody Hates Chris.
Of course I watched it, yeah.
The teacher. Do you remember the teacher?
Like,
she used to make all these jokes.
Okay, it was like a lot of bad jokes towards like him being black. Okay, yeah, I had to remember that.
She was so nice, and she's like, "Chris," she's like, "I know you can do X, Y, Z, you know, despite, you know, you being a poor child and your mother is a single mom." He's like, "I have a dad." Stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, okay, I remember that.
But it was a common, you know, joke throughout the entire series. These microaggressions, you know, whether it's meant in a negative or a positive thing, has a strong impact on somebody who is learning in school. And I thought that was, you know, it was a nail on the head of, you don't really start to say, "Hey, what am I?" until somebody else casts that on you.
Right.
All right. So let's move on to our next question. The last part of our, you know, take the mic situation is going to be, you know, culture. How do you think this book is relative to the culture? Is it important to the culture? Is it a must read? On a scale of 1 to 10, what are you thinking? Is it amazing?
I'm gonna say it's a must read.
Okay.
Now, as far as a scale of 1 to 10, I'm gonna give it a 10.
That's
you know, of course, it's my own opinion, but I give it a 10 just because I feel like since I declared it as a must read, because there was a lot of conversations in here, a lot of snippets from actual people, where we don't speak of that often.
Oh no. And she had receipts all throughout the book. She had receipts. She had receipts.
Because, you know, a lot of different things upon, you know, just from a young age, even to however old you are now, you still begin to ask yourself, okay, well, all right, I'm black, or I'm, you know, whatever race you identify as. But, you know, just for this time being, so if I'm black, okay, what should I be doing? Yeah. Like, for a current event, okay, protesting going on. I'm black, so should I be protesting? But then again, I still got a job that I can't do certain things with. So, you know, it's things like, okay, but that doesn't make me not black. I'm not there protesting, or that doesn't make me not black because, like, for a common stereotype, like, I don't eat chicken, or I don't eat, like, you know, something like that, you know. And it's just amongst within yourself, like, do you as a person feel as though you belong? Because the hardest thing is to feel like you're not accepted.
Absolutely.
So this is like, I feel as though like it's just a lot of conversation here, because you know, it's hard not feeling accepted at home.
Yeah.
And then you go to school, and then if you grow up and go to, you know, you go to work or whatever the case may be, you know, it's going to be something in your mind as in, so who do I want to be and how do I want to become it?
Yes. I done on a scale of 1 to 10. Let me back up. On a scale of 1 to 10, I give it about an 8 or a 9. Okay. And the only reason I say that is, for me, it was a little bit of a slower read compared to some other books that really discuss race on a full perspective. Races, the more you understand, none of us fit into a bottle. And it's really about intent and really getting to know other people. And you realize that race is a social construct, and you really have to judge people on their own character. But some people, you know, because of the bad, evil history behind race in this country, we don't like to have these conversations. But I think in order to get better, the conversation is necessary. Would you agree?
I would agree, because I mean, while I was away in Poland, like, we actually did have like a little sit, you know, like a kind of like a sit down, like like a little auditorium type of thing, you know, still COVID going on, so like not too many people was there, but you know, majority of the races that was there was, you know, black and white.
Okay.
So what they were doing was having conversations, because this was during the protests when the George Floyd protests.
Yes. Okay.
When those first started popping off, and then he turned to a riot and all that type of stuff. You know, I don't remember who set it up, but it's not really too important. But so the way they had it was just open. So speak how you want, say what you want. You know, not just not disrespecting nobody, but you know, just pretty much get something off your chest, really. And it was actually, you know, good to see, because I sat in on one of those, so it was a lot more Caucasian people than black people, and that's actually the result that I wanted to see happen. So a lot of them, I mean, some of them, you know, sat kind of quiet as listening, you know, taking stuff in, as you know, people were sharing their stories and instances and whatnot. Now, a few people, like, you know, brought up some good points that they just weren't aware of them and, you know, their whiteness at the time, where they didn't realize, like, oh, like, these, you know, these instances happen, like, we don't know nothing about it
at all.
And then that's when the guilt comes in, because it's like, well, what am I doing in my position, being that it's not a bad thing that they have an advantage, it's just how you use that advantage. Yes. So for some of them, you know, like, they really felt bad, because like, well, how can I change it? And it's just like, it ain't gonna take more than you. Yes. But it's good that, you know, somebody did come around to realize, like, oh, this stuff is real. Like, this ain't just some stories they putting on the news and all this. They're not just saying on the protest. Like, no, these are people I'm talking to, real like, people. Right now. Yes. So, you know, a lot of them definitely just, you know, they had that, you know, like, how can I put it? It's like, they started to kind of come to a sense of, okay, let's, like, you know, everything in the media isn't all true. And these are the people that's, you know, beside me, I'm working with them, so, hey, maybe I should get to know these people a bit more. Yes. So it was like one of those type of feelings.
I think having a conversation with people that you have a relationship with is also very critical. I remember one of the most important conversations I had about race. I was talking to someone who, you know, was just very in their own bubble. Did not really have a lot of African American friends that were close, and we had developed somewhat of a decent relationship through work. And this is happening every day simply because of someone's skin color, and seeing, you know, some type of fear in that skin color. And I said, you know me. But the fact of the matter is I could go home right now after leaving work. I could get pulled over and somebody fears my skin and I die. So that is a problem, because you see me as, this is someone's mother. This was someone's daughter, has always been good to me. Did I deserve that treatment? And so when you see it you have to see it as that person who has been subject to police brutality or social injustice or whatever matter, that person has a life as well, that they are connected to so many other people. And when I had to explain it that way and have that conversation, all of a sudden it was like, didn't see it that way. Okay, ding, 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 ding. All of these, things going off in their head. And that was one of those conversations where it may have been very uncomfortable, especially with a coworker, but did it open up for them to think of things a different way? Like, everyone who was out here is not just, it's this one-off, situation that went wrong. It could happen to anyone simply because of the social construct of race in the United States and what that leads to when we're not having conversations and we're not striving to do better. And realizing we are all more similar than we will ever be different. And I actually, I always say I'm ready to have the conversation, but sometimes I'm not.
It's depending on the mood.
Yeah.
At any given moment, I'll be honest, I can't have that conversation.
Not right now. So, are you ready? This is the point where BookBites turns into food because I like food.
I'm a little hungry anyway. So.
You're a little hungry? Okay. So, this recipe that I have for you is a tequila honey lime salmon.
Mm-hmm.
It's on potatoes. We got some sauteed spinach. It's going to be awesome. So let's do a magical plate. Just appeared out of nowhere. So this is a tequila honey lime salmon. Okay. It's glazed. It is beautiful. On a bed of potatoes, whipped potatoes. Some people, of course, would have loved it with rice, but rice is typical. Switch it up a little bit, put it on some potatoes, wonderful. And then we got some sauteed spinach, kept it simple, but really kind of balances everything out. So go ahead and give it a whirl. Let me know what you think. And of course, if you guys would love this recipe, you know what to do. Go on to my page. You can definitely, get the subscription, and I'll shoot you the link on how to make this recipe at home. Again, another episode of BookBites on the way, and he's going in. So looks like I got another winner. Right? Okay. So
that's good right here.
You guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate you tuning in. This is what I love to do, and I'm so happy to share it with you.